An exciting first here at Gabriel Plants, we are about to deflask these orchids. So we grow a good amount of plants from tissue culture, but usually when we get in the tissue culture, they've already been deflasked and put into little peat plugs that we then are able to plug into a 4-inch plant. We've never actually done the deflasking step ourselves, so I figured for the first time I had to choose a really cool plant to do it with. So this is exuperi, which is a leafless orchid. Which, okay, I just want to say that again. It is a leafless orchid. If it ever develops leaves, they are caducous, which means they're there just for a very short period of time at the beginning and then fall off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this open, and I'll walk you step by step as we prepare these to grow out. What this flask is that we are deflasking is a completely sterile condition that this media down here is known as agar. It's a gelatin type substance that they derive from algae that is sterilized, and they put different plant hormones and different levels of the plant hormones in the agar that then causes the tissue culture plantlets to divide and grow. And so you can see here, I mean, it is sealed, it is sterile. This has never been opened before. Like, this literally will be the first time that these orchids are being exposed to the real world. So I'm excited. Maybe there is another way to do this to open the flasks, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm making sure not to cut into any roots. Yes! Oh, look at them! Welcome to the world! Wow, okay, so I'm going to say it a third time. These are leafless orchids. So what you're seeing here, let's see if we can pull one of these plantlets out and show you how exactly this thing functions. These are so cool. All right, so in an effort to separate all of these plantlets from each other with doing as little damage to them as possible, I'm going to try to do it in water. Yeah, so much easier. Yay, oh my goodness. I can't say they're being born because obviously they already exist, they're growing, but it is kind of like a, I don't know, a beginning, a new beginning. So you can see. This right here is one plant. This is one exuperi. And as you can see, it has no leaves. What it does have is a very, very, very small section of stem that basically is this point in here where all of these roots meet. That kind of midpoint is where the stem tissue is. And then everything else is roots.
That's so cool.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and separate these all out individually. Make sure they're all intact. Remove any agar that is stuck on them. And then what we need to do is we need to sanitize them. Right now, because they've lived their entire life in a completely sterile condition, they're super susceptible to disease. Just like, you know, in order for humans to build up an immune system, you kind of got to get sick a little bit. You got to go play in the soil outside. And so this right now, these plants are, yeah, very vulnerable. And so we're going to dip them in Physan after we get them separated to sterilize and treat. And then I am really excited with what we developed to grow them out. And so let's do this step and then we'll move on. Barely attached. See, like this is, I mean, we grow some pretty cool plants now, but this type of stuff, this is what I'm really into, and this is what I want to be able to offer our customers. It's important to remove all of the agar because the agar is a very nutrient-rich media. And because these are so susceptible to disease, if you leave them covered in a really nutrient-rich goo, basically, fungi and bacteria are gonna find that and grow on it, and you don't want that next to where you're growing the babies. Okay, so this is a really cool example here. So when you tissue culture a plant and you subject the plant to different hormones, depending on the level of each plant hormone that you subject the cells in the agar to will change or decide what type of plant tissue develops. So if you have a lot of auxin, that is going to promote a lot of root growth. If you have a lot of cytokinin, it's going to promote a lot of shoot growth. If you get the levels not perfect, it can basically confuse the plant cells in that mix, and it'll cause them to form callus tissue that basically is just a buildup, a bundle of massive cells that isn't one or isn't the other, and it doesn't really know what to do. And so you can see here, look at all of this callus tissue that has developed, that instead of forming, you know, main roots or more stem tissue, it's kind of just a bundle of undifferentiated cells. Super weird looking. Now, as it acclimates to these new growing conditions, the plant produces all of those plant hormones naturally, so it will regulate its levels back out, but that is just kind of cool that some of the anomalies or the science of micropropagation. All right, so now that all of these orchids have been separated out of the agar, we're going to go ahead and let them soak for 5 minutes in Physan. So I already had gone ahead and mixed up the appropriate dosing in here. And so I'm gonna transfer everybody into this. All right, set an alarm for 5 minutes. There we go. All right, 5 minutes is up. So let's go ahead and remove all of these from that Physan solution, and we're gonna put them on the paper towel for now. All right, so I'm gonna let them dry for a minute, and then we will go ahead and put them onto their next growing step. Chiloschiста, being orchids native to the humid, hot, wet rainforests of Thailand, Laos, that area of the world, they grow epiphytically, which means not in soil, but on something. And so we're going to grow them a couple different ways. The first here, I have tree fern. These are tree fern slabs. I'm going to just lay them on top and see if they attach. I'm going to break this one up. Since they are epiphytes and they need to really just live on something, That means that they never want to be sitting in water. They want to stay moist almost all the time, but never soggy. They need airflow and they need humidity. So what I devised here is essentially what I'm going to call my miniature orchid hammock. That I've taken this cell tray liner that has holes along the bottom for drainage, and inside I laid a layer of lava rock, which is great for humidity. It's not going to hold any excess moisture, but it will stay wet. And then above it, I have zip tied on this shade cloth piece. So now it's taut, it's not gonna sag too much. And there's a layer essentially there of air that we're going to be able to grow these orchids up here, and they're going to be able to get, hopefully, everything that they need in this microclimate that we're creating. So I'm going to go ahead and lay them out on here and we'll get a total count. I'm really curious to see how many we actually deflask. Also, it is really, really hard to tell. It kind of just takes an advanced eye, but technically there is still a top and bottom to the growth of these plants. Kyler are a monopodial orchid, which means they have one growing point and grow outward from that one point. And so you can, I know that this is up because you can see where the cluster of roots are coming out. They are kind of coming up this way. So I consider this be, sun-facing side. If I lay them upside down, it's not the end of the world because there is air underneath it, so it's not like it'll get pushed up against anything to potentially rot. But when mounting orchids, depending on how you want it to grow, you need to make sure that the growth side is either pointing towards or away, depending on how you want it to grow on the mount. Oh my God, this already looks so good. All right, well, what a journey we have been on. Look at these orchids ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and mist them in. Welcome home, guys. And since they were in that flask, it was essentially 100% humidity. So at least until they get acclimated, I am going to go ahead and put a humidity dome on this. And so freaking cool! As you know, here at Gabriel Plants, we're always growing more, and these leafless orchids are just another one on the list. Stay tuned for updates.